August 1969, okay? When that's really a turning point in both of our lives.
It is.
And you know, leaving Woodstock, I went my way, you went your way, and we just went and left and started our own separate lives. And I was heartbroken, of course, but you know, that's just the way it was. So Woodstock happened, and like I said, we went on to live our own separate lives. And you, at that point, were such a mess. You know, I would have never thought that you would end up as you did. So, you know, what
The worst mess?
Yeah, oh, no, well, actually, I thought when you finally contacted me, I thought you were going to be like one of those old guys with like the hippie ponytail with like five pieces of hair going down.
Yeah,
That's what I thought you were going to be.
I thought you'd think I was dead.
Well, that was before that was the most obvious one or what I thought. But anyway, so I mean, it's like, how did it happen that life turned out so well for you?
Well, here's the deal. You know, you have these important birthdays, like we celebrated your aunt's 100th birthday, and when you turn 50, that's a big deal. When you turn 30, that's a big deal. Well, I was about to turn 20 in a couple of months. I was no longer a teenager, and I'd been doing this trip about, crisscrossing the United States. I had no money. And I didn't think I could get away with it for much longer.
Yeah.
I was going to have to get a job or something and kind of get my life together in some, because I've been, relying on the kindness of strangers and whatnot, all these places, and the scene was changing, and so I figured, man, I got to get my life together. And I was at a low point. Now, after the baby was born and given up for adoption, we were still together. But you were still in high school.
And I was in New Jersey now, too.
In New Jersey. And you were a senior in high school. And I figured, man, I have, really screwed up this chick's life big time. And where I'm at, it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. And so I figured, I tried, to keep us together with the baby and everything, and it failed miserably. And you had your whole life in front of you, and mine too, but it didn't look that good. And so I figured, man, I got to cut it loose and just stop this relationship, and because you'd be better off without me. And I didn't tell you my plan because I figured you'd probably talk me out of it.
I definitely would.
And that was not good. So I decided to keep it under wraps. And I remember after Woodstock that morning, you drove me back to Anita's house where we met. And you were in your car, and I kissed you goodbye, and I said, I'll call you next week.
I'm waving out the window, smiling.
See you in a month or two at Anita's wedding, if not before. And I knew in my heart I'd never see you again. And it was difficult, but it was something I had to do. I figured, you would talk me out of it, we might stay together, and worse things could happen or something, but I just figured, man, your life is screwed up already. Your parents moved to a different state because of their embarrassment of the situation, and you're in a different high school, you hate the high school. I really screwed up your life. So I said, man, that's it, I'm out of here. And that's why I left abruptly.
Yeah.
And I went to find fame and fortune elsewhere. I really needed, I was going to turn 20 in a couple months, so no longer a teenager, and I really had to get my life together. So anyway, by the time I got my life together, you had moved on. You were married, so I wasn't going to jeopardize anything like that. I was going to stay away for sure, and I did.
Yeah, but how did you get from being such a bum?
Well, here's the deal.
Yeah.
I was a smart kid before I got into this hippie phase. I was a really smart kid, and I was always interested in computers. And back then, nobody had computers, and so they needed computer programmers. And I was a math guy. I really enjoyed mathematics. and computer programming is kind of like math in a way. It's algorithms and stuff. I figured maybe since I didn't have a high school diploma or a college degree, I could somehow get into the field as a computer programmer because there weren't too many back then. And I found a school in Florida. Well, here's the deal. I had no money. I had nothing. So I called my mother and I said, Mom, can I stay with you a couple of weeks? Because I'm not getting along with her new husband, you know. But she goes, okay, you can come down and stay a few weeks. We'll see how it goes. And then I found a school in her city, Jacksonville, that I could go to and learn the rudiments of computer programming. Because I knew computers already, but I didn't know IBM assembly language or RPG or COBOL.
Yeah.
So I figured if I could learn those 3 languages like that, I can get a job. So that was the deal. The problem was I had no money for the school.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember I was playing in the band, The Afterlife?
Yes, with my ex-husband.
Yeah, yes. Your soon-to-be husband and an
Yeah.
ex-husband.
Right.
And so we're playing in the band, and anyway, I'm living in Middletown, New York, and the center of town is Franklin Square. Road here, big crossroads. And one afternoon, I'm crossing the road, and this car jumps the red light. As I'm crossing the road, he runs over my foot, my big toe. And I got mad. He had the window down, and I yelled at him, "Why, you SOB, you ran over my big toe." And he got upset, and he ran off. He was making, a left-hand turn, and it was hit and run.
Right.
Who is at this Franklin Square on the other side but the band? They're in the van. And they see the whole thing. So they follow this guy. End of that part of the story. Anyway, they call the cops. I'm in the ambulance. They take me here, they take me there, and finally they take me down to the police station to fill out a report. And as I'm leaving the police station, the band is dragging this guy up the steps. They got him on either side. They caught him and made him come to the police station. So anyway, long story made short, the insurance company calls me up and says, "How much money do you want?" I said, "What's the tuition to that school?" It's like $1,500. I said, $1,500, I'm out of here. And that's how I got the tuition to go to school.
You are just front row, Johnny. I tell you every single time.
I lucked out. And so anyway, I went down to Jacksonville to stay with my mom for a couple of weeks, and which I eventually got booted out. I didn't stay the whole time, but by that time I'd made friends and I was staying at their house. And long story made short, I got a job, and I did pretty well. And within a couple of years, 3 years, I started minimum wage, and I was a vice president of R&D. And from there, my career just took off.
Yeah, well, you started your own company.
Yeah, I sure did. I worked for them for about 3.5 years, and then thought I could take it on my own, and I did. So the last company I started, I think they have 200 or 300 people now. So.
Wow. Too bad we didn't get together when you were successful. But say la vie.
Well, you were
right?
married.
Well,
and then afterward, you were partying.
Yeah,
so
right. Well,
I don't think I wanted to know you back then.
No, that is true. I guess timing wasn't. Our
Yeah,
timing didn't work out
right.
until many years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool, Johnny. I was so proud when you finally came back and you told me how successful you'd been. That was great. And my life. Like, you went that way, I went this way.
You were so innocent when I knew you.
I know, I was.
I couldn't believe your stories, man. After I got out of your life so I wouldn't mess yours up, and you messed yours
I
up.
messed it up all by myself.
On your own.
Yep. Well, no, it took me a while before it got crazy, because I married Mark. Well, I was in this horrible high school. I hated it, and I really didn't have any friends. And 2 days after graduation, I just packed up some clothes and my guitar, and I left the house. I didn't tell my parents. They were at work. I just hated them so much. I was out. And it always made me think of the Beatles song, "She's Leaving Home." That resonated with me. Anyway, so I moved back to Middletown because I was seeing Mark, and we got married in 1971. And he had long hair and couldn't get a decent job, so he had to work in a factory. And I had no skills, And so I was working as a telephone repair operator, and I worked in repair. When you get a phone call in repair, nobody's ever happy. People are always mad because something's wrong with their phone. So you're sitting there all day taking hundreds of calls with people yelling at you, So I was like, oh, I hate this job, I hate this job. So one day he comes home and he says, I'm quitting my job, I've had it, I can't work in a factory, I'm going to college. And because we had the community college in town, in Middletown, so he said he was going to go to college. And I said, well, I'm not working while you're in college, so I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to college too. And so that's what we did. And we had no money, but we got scholarships. Well, first we borrowed everything we could, all the student loans, and then we ended up, we got every scholarship, and we were finding grants and everything. Anyway, long story short, I graduated, we moved to Buffalo, I got my Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education. And
that is so ironic because you were such a terrible
I
student.
was. Yep, I was. I was. And, but anyway, I found out I liked teaching. I'm not a good student, but anyway. So, got married in 71. In 1976, we both graduated college, and I had wanted a divorce for the last year. So I got my divorce in May of 76, and I graduated in May. I got my divorce in June, which I got divorced in Niagara Falls. I thought that was cool. Everybody else goes for honeymoons there. I got divorced. But anyway, and I was free. For the first time in my life, I was free. There was nobody holding me back, and I just was off to the races right away. I got a job in the biggest disco in Buffalo as a cocktail waitress, and oh my gosh, it was great. I was they had stars there, and like the Buffalo Bills, and I knew like OJ, and before he killed his wife. But anyway, so I knew all these people, and I was hanging out with all these people, and I started partying, and I was drinking alcoholically, like right from the beginning, And then I was introduced to Coke, and that just, I was crazy. And I left Buffalo. I didn't want to live a winter in Buffalo by myself. Buffalo in winter is not fun. So I went back to Jersey. I didn't know where else to go. And I go back to my parents' house, of all people. And I got a job. I learned how to tend bar, and I was tending bar. And then I left. I got my own place.
So much for that college degree.
So much for that. Yes, exactly.
Put that to work.
I know, but I was a great bartender. But and I was just partying all the time. Tending bar is fabulous if you're, into drugs and alcohol, because you can drink the whole time you're working and you're meeting people and everything. And I counted. I over the years, I worked in almost 40 different restaurants and bars. I got fired from every single one. Plus, I was in like 2 bands. Got fired from that because But anyway, so long story short, then I overdosed in 1987. Went to rehab for 2 months. And I have been clean and sober ever since 1987, and it'll be 37 years in 2 weeks. So that's when my life changed again. I'm at a new chapter, and I started teaching school, and I was teaching middle school.
So that desire to take drugs was lifted?
It was, yes, divinely orchestrated. It was just lifted from me. And another time I can tell all the crazy stuff that I did at that time, but right now, I want to fast forward to 2003, when you came into my life. So we'll have to spend some time on that.
Well,
Okay.
till then.
Till then, right?